The tourist thought he was untouchable. With a laser pointer in hand and a smug grin on his face, he mocked the Queen's Guard, believing his money gave him the right to do anything. But when he crossed the line, literally, the guard's reaction stunned the entire crowd. It wasn't just silence. It was an act so unexpected that someone whispered, "This is one for the books." And the fallout? It proved once and for all that honor isn't for sale. But let's start from the beginning. The Tower of London buzzed with life. Camera shutters clicking, tourists chattering, guides repeating the same facts for the 100th time. Amidst the chaos, Henry stood resolute. A Queen's Guard, immovable, unshakable, every inch of him a living tribute to centuries of tradition. His tall bearskin hat caught the sun, making him look even more iconic. To him, it was just another day. But not to the tourists. A group of young adults, too loud, even for a place like this, pushed through the crowd. Leading them was a man in his 30s, Justin. Ripped jeans, a cheap gold chain, and an air of entitlement that screamed, "I paid to be here, so entertain me." Justin pulled a laser pointer from his pocket and flicked it on, the green beam dancing erratically across Henry's pristine red tunic. "Hey, does this guy even breathe?" Justin called out, waving the laser over Henry's bearskin hat like it was some kind of carnival game. The crowd laughed. A few phones went up, eager to capture the fun. But Henry? Not a twitch, not a blink. His jaw stayed firm, though a faint tension crept into his lips. Justin grinned wider, encouraged by the reaction. "I told you! They're robots!" he shouted, aiming the laser right at Henry's face. "Come on, buddy. Turn around. Give us a smile." The crowd split into factions. Some giggled, snapping selfies with Justin and his antics in the background. But others exchanged uneasy glances. A gray-haired couple whispered furiously, their disapproval evident. "This is disgraceful," the woman said, her voice low but sharp. "These men represent something sacred." Justin, oblivious or uncaring, stepped closer, his voice louder now. "Come on, man, do something. I paid good money to see this, and you're just standing there?" The laser beam lingered on Henry's golden buttons, tracing slow circles. The laughter around them grew louder. Henry's stillness, once admirable, now felt heavy with silent defiance. And in that moment, one thought hung in the air, unspoken but felt by all. This was going too far. Justin, drunk on attention, decided to up the ante. The laser pointer wasn't enough anymore. He swaggered forward, stepping over the clearly marked boundary line like it didn't exist. "Let's see if this wakes him up," Justin sneered, reaching toward Henry's bearskin hat. "Think it'll fit me? Maybe I'll get a selfie while I'm at it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. A woman's voice cut through the noise, sharp and clear. "This is too much! Leave him alone!" But Justin barely flinched. He turned, smirking at the woman. "What are you, his PR manager? Relax, lady. It's just a joke." The crowd grew restless. Some laughed nervously, others whispered in disapproval. Justin ignored it all, feeding off the chaos. "Come on, this guy's paid to entertain us," he shouted, turning back to Henry. He waved the laser pointer in broad circles, then aimed it at a nearby horse from the mounted guard. The animal shuddered, ears twitching in agitation. Its rider gripped the reins tightly, voice booming. "Step back, now!" The authority in his tone silenced the crowd for a moment, but Justin only chuckled. "Or what? You gonna call the Queen on me?" The horse reared slightly, and murmurs of concern rippled through the bystanders. A few phones lowered. Justin's grin faltered, just for a second. But instead of retreating, he doubled down. "What are they gonna do?" he shouted to no one in particular, throwing his arms out. "Give me a ticket? Please, I'm a tourist. I own this place." The tension in the air was palpable, the kind that makes you hold your breath. Everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. Just as the situation threatened to spiral, a small boy darted out from the crowd. His face was pale, his steps hesitant, but his eyes locked on the restless horse Justin had provoked. "Stop! You're scaring it!" he cried, barely audible over the murmur of the crowd. The boy crossed the white line without hesitation, reaching out instinctively toward the nervous animal. The horse flinched, its movements sharp and unpredictable. Gasps erupted from the bystanders. And then, it happened. Henry, the immovable guard, broke formation. In one fluid motion, he stepped forward, placing himself between the boy and the horse. His red-coated frame became a wall of protection, unshaken despite the animal's agitation. The crowd froze. This wasn't part of the show. Henry turned his head, just slightly, his voice calm but cutting like steel. "Enough. Your amusement isn't worth a life." Justin stood frozen, the laser pointer still in his hand, its green dot now trembling on the cobblestones. The silence shattered as applause erupted. A gray-haired woman's voice rang out, clear and proud. "Now that's what honor looks like!" Justin's smug grin melted into unease as the mood shifted. From somewhere in the crowd, someone yelled, "Hope you enjoy your 15 minutes of fame, pal. It's all over the internet already." Justin glanced around, his confidence visibly crumbling under the weight of dozens of recording phones and the growing hostility of the onlookers. Henry, now back at his post, adjusted his bearskin hat with a deliberate precision. The moment was over, but its impact was undeniable. A few hours later, the video hit social media like wildfire. Justin's cocky smirk and laser pointer antics were now burned into the internet's collective memory. But this wasn't the kind of fame he'd wanted. Comments rolled in, ruthless and sharp. "When you think you own the world, but a guard puts you in your place. Disrespecting a queen's guard? That's next-level stupidity. Major props to the guard for keeping his cool. He's the real MVP here." By morning, headlines were everywhere. "Tourist taunts Queen's Guard, gets publicly shamed." Justin's face was plastered across news outlets, alongside the story of his disrespect. To make matters worse, local authorities slapped him with a fine for disorderly conduct. Justin's online reputation tanked faster than he could delete his accounts. Memes started popping up, mocking his bravado. Tourist versus tradition. Tradition won. Meanwhile, Henry stood back at his post, the epitome of calm. A small crowd had gathered, not to gawk or jeer, but to admire. "He's a reminder of what honor looks like," an elderly man said, tipping his hat. Henry adjusted his bearskin cap with precision, his face impassive, but his presence commanding. The incident was over, but the lesson lingered. Respect isn't optional and tradition isn't a plaything.